Welcome back to Business Balls and Banter, and today we're joined by the lovely Deborah of Flourish with Deborah. Thank you for joining us.
Hi Kelly, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Great, glad to be here.
I know, we're so excited to have you on and hear all about you.
I know, I think every woman over the age of 30 is going to be tuned right into this episode.
Definitely, as they should be, because we're all nuts.
Do you not think, like, and I talk about this all the time, like, especially with my best friends, I'm like, why are women so insane? Like, but good insane, but also, like, we are absolutely nuts, aren't we?
Unhinged.
Hormones. No, it's so true. And even like I've got a couple of friends now, and they're going through like split ups and stuff like that. And I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was like, "Oh, I just don't know if I can go with her because she's like a psycho." I'm like, "Mate, all birds are psychos." I was like, "You'll just split up with that psycho, go with another psycho." It's like that's, and then he tells me our psycho tendencies. I'm like, I don't know if that's psycho. I just think that's normal.
Yeah,
but you're right. It's hormones. Like, I always think, like, if I get overly emotional, Emma always laughs at me because I cry all the time. But like, I go through a week in the run up probably to my periods that I'm like, just cry at everything and anything, happy, sad, anything. Emma could be like that. If you make your targets, and I'd be like, ah!
Normally means
she
no.
Hates me.
She hates me.
Like,
and you know,
so
something that I
annoying.
learned very recently was actually that, very recently, I mean the past couple of years, but you know, your periods aren't actually supposed to, that time of the month's not really meant to affect you like that.
What?
I know, it's crazy. Do you know that you're actually not meant to get cramp?
What?
So
I can actually feel it ripping inside me.
I know. I think we're just so sensitive to things now in terms of our nervous system. It's definitely different to what it used to be like years ago for women.
Oh, really?
Definitely. We live in a society now. If you think about it, women work now and they never used to work. Like, they used to, you know, they'd manage a house and that was really difficult. But women actually have, like, challenging jobs now. And we still hold on to that part of us that believes that we need to be able to run a house and do all of the things. Like, we want to meet these expectations that we set for ourselves that are just ridiculously high. So that all has an impact in your gut and your nervous system, which then has an impact on you and your hormones.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, it makes sense, really, that these things are all kind of heightened. Because
Can
we
I ask
hold
you a wee
ourselves.
question? So, Marty's actually going to like laugh if I ask this, right? But whenever my periods do, right, I think he takes my, like, see how the week before people become more moany and more like, he takes that from me, right? So I feel like the week before he's always like dead agitated, dead worked up. And then he'll actually text you, say, your period's about to come. Like, I can feel it. Like, is that a thing? Like, when you're so close in a relationship?
So, yeah, definitely. They say, like, women can match their cycles when
That's
they spend
me
a
now.
lot of time.
We do
when you spend a lot of time together. So, definitely think that guys, and I don't think they're, like, matching your cycle because it's not the same, but your progesterone level and your estrogen levels all changing at that time.
Yeah.
So, they'll be able to feel it. Like, you know, when you feel like you've got out of bed in the wrong side of bed in the morning.
Well, no, it's
and
him though. So he takes it all, and then when my period comes, he'll be like, "Oh, I feel like such a relief. I feel like I've got all this weight off my shoulders." I'm like, "Fucking great."
You're obviously very in tune, which is amazing. But yeah, no, it's definitely just that change in your hormone level at that time of the month, and the menopause is just basically that on
steroids.
It's like crazy. Do you know what I mean?
That's wild. So what made you, Deborah, tell us a bit about Flourish with Deborah. What made you do that? Because obviously I've known you for a long time and we used to be a bit wild together and party together and
Absolutely,
get
yeah.
pish together.
Yeah.
And now that's not you.
None of that. I know, it's crazy. That's what I was saying. I've got friends now that I'm really close to that have never known me have a drink.
Yeah.
Which is just wild because anyone that knew me, like, probably about 5-6 years ago, I would be the first person out. I would drink. I would be like shots, bottles. It would just be party was everything to me. And I still like to think I'm a bit like that, wild as in I'll get up and dance and all that. But I'm not. I'd rather be in my bed at 9:30. It's terrible. I'm so different, but in the best possible way. I'm really happy.
What changed that for you? What made you decide to stop drinking?
So it kind of all started when I was 35. My periods became really heavy. I was more mental than I'd ever been. And I was quite lucky when I met my husband. I always said to him, women are really hard work and I'm up there with the top. So I always held that standard for myself. So it was actually quite good because when I started to go a bit mental, he was like, well, you always said this would happen.
You set my
But
expectations.
because when I went into that relationship with him, I was just like, this is the last one. It's all or nothing. I'm not doing this again. So I'm just going to be like absolutely 100% myself. I was like, I'm really hard work. I'll demand quite a lot of you. And if you can't meet it, there's no point in being here. And it was actually the best thing I ever done because he was just like, aye, okay, it's a challenge. I'm here for it. But round about the age of 35, I had my kids at 30 and 31. So round about the age of 35, everything was kind of changing. And I thought it was maybe, you know, once you settle after you had your kids, and because I'd had them so close together, there's 13 months between them, I thought maybe it was just everything settling. And then eventually my mum and my husband had a bit of an intervention with me. They were just like, you're kind of really off the scale nuts. And it felt like that time before my period was like getting longer. And then the time of it, I was just a riot, sobbing mess, couldn't move. And then even after it was taking longer to get out yet. So it was getting to the point where I was really just like 5 days out of the month where I was actually normal. So I went away to I went to the doctors, referred to gynecology, and they were basically like, perimenopause wasn't mentioned. They were just like, right, we probably need to go down the route of a hysterectomy. Bearing in mind this was 8 years ago, so perimenopause wasn't a thing. It wasn't a word that was used. And when you're sitting in front of gynecology, you're kind of like, these are the people that know.
Everything.
They're fully trained. They're not. You know, and basically that fell under gynecology because no other specialist wanted it. And your GP knows nothing, by the way. So I was just basically like, this is it, you need to get an op. Actually, the first guy I went to see, he was just like, it's all in your head, you're imagining it, this is not happening to you. Yep, dead on. And he was like wanting to refer me to psychiatry. And my mum was there just going mental at him. And I was just sitting thinking, maybe I'm losing it. Like, maybe this is it. I'm going nuts. Because I don't think anybody that goes nuts actually knows they're going nuts.
Yeah.
So I was a bit like, maybe I am. And you start to really doubt yourself. Your confidence is like on the floor and you're so desperate. So my mum asked for a second opinion and it was a woman and she was just as bad. She came in the room and was like, I'll give you a hysterectomy. I don't do it keyhole. I'm just going to cut you open and get everything out and that's it. It's this or nothing. What do you want to do? And I was like, I just knew I couldn't stay where I was. So that's what I did.
And looking back now, do you think that was the wrong decision?
So there's so many. I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
In fact, I know it does. So for the 2 years after it was nearly the wrong decision. Like I got put in the wrong HRT and I nearly took my own life more than once. I don't know. I think my kids and my husband got me through that, but I was literally just surviving. You know, there was no flourishing, there was no thriving in my life. I wasn't present for anything. And I do get a wee bit emotional. We shared some videos of my kids when they were around about the age I was when they were like 4 and 5 and I was at that time in my life and I didn't even feel any connection to it. It was horrible. And they looked so happy and they were with their dad and they were away doing things and I kept thinking, where was I when that was happening? it's really sad. Like I was just so disconnected from everything and so disconnected from myself. And eventually a couple of years in, I realised I was on the wrong HRT and I was just like, this can't continue. I can't go on like this. And it was a therapist that was going to see me. I'd been to see like 3 different ones and I just couldn't get, it just wasn't, they were like, you're depressed. And I was like, I'm not depressed. I knew I wasn't depressed. I'm quite a positive person. And even when all of that was happening, I was very much like, just keep going. And, you know, and I don't know, my mum suffers with depression. So I know what that looks like. And it just didn't look like that. And I thought maybe I am and I don't know it. Or I'm literally heading for Leverdale because I'm lost the plot. It was just not good. I had a really bad relationship with alcohol. I always had a really awful relationship with alcohol. I didn't know how to deal with any big emotions whatsoever. So something bad happened, I'd drink it. Something good happened, I'd drink it. And growing up in the west of Scotland, that's kind of what you did. So it wasn't different to most people. But I was like, never want to go home. Never. Well, I'm always the last person. I'm just like that. Everybody, if you go up the road, you're up. Like, keep going. And it was just to suppress everything that was going on.
And then I'm guessing you felt a lot worse once the hangover kicked in.
The fear.
By a Tuesday and a Wednesday, I was just rock bottom again, making plans for the next weekend. What are we doing? Where are we going? Trying to hang on to that.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're just existing. And the quality of life, I don't know how my husband didn't leave. You know, I think he probably, if he's honest, he probably stayed for the kids, you know, because I wasn't a nice person to be around. I was so high and so low. And then at the weekends, it was just like, if he wasn't going to go out with us or we didn't have a babysitter, I was going out with someone else, you know. So it was just a means to an end. And it didn't matter if it was him that was with me or some of my pals. And it just so happened that I was round about a lot of people who all wanted to go out and party. So, and we were all at that age, I think, in denial of growing up, still, you know, in your 30s, and you're a bit like, is this it? You know? So, yeah, that's kind of where I hit rock bottom, really.
And then you said, so when you had you said with the hysterectomy, you thought it was potentially a wrong idea then, but then 2 years later, did something change where you look at that now and think that was a good idea to get?
I definitely. I went to see a therapist who basically was like that to me. Have you ever tried cold water therapy? And I was just like, no, what's that? And by that point, I was desperate. And I did that and it absolutely changed everything.
What's that? I've never heard of that.
So it's just getting into cold water.
Oh, the cold water therapy? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So I went in there and everything stopped. I went in for 5 minutes at Prestwick Beach and it was like someone came along and pressed pause.
While you're in the water, you just feel like at zen almost?
But does that
For me, it was. Like, I was just like, it wasn't even, I mean, your body's screaming at you, this is fucking freezing, what are you doing? But for me, it was just, I was in this place where, you know, stuff in my childhood was coming up. I'd had all these problems with my periods, and then I'd had this hysterectomy that I thought was going to be the answer to my prayers, and I was going to feel like myself. And I probably have never felt like myself my entire life, which sounds mad. But I don't have great childhood memories. Like, you know, there's alcoholism in my house, and there was, you know, some knocking about of people, and it just wasn't a great environment to be in. And I remember there's a thing called an ACEs test. I don't know if you've heard of it. No. It's basically this test that's been developed, and it's to do with like your childhood trauma. And
did you say ACE, like
ACEs,
adverse childhood experience?
Yeah. So I completed one of my therapy sessions. I completed the kind of form, and I'm like, at my husband when I went home, average C, I'm not that bad. I get 7 out of 10. And he was like, he did the test and he got 1. And I was like, maybe 7 out of 10 is not I know, right? So at the time I'm thinking just above 5, surely 5's like normal, because you don't know that your life's chaotic until you realise if you've grown up with it like that, you don't know.
That's the norm, yeah.
That you don't know what you don't know. And you just think everybody's house is the same and everybody's environment's the same, and it's not. And it wasn't till I started then I realised I was carving out a similar environment for my own kids that I was like, no. I never ever drank in front of them, but my drinking still impacted them. Yeah. And that is something that I was ashamed of. So, and I realised like my mum's a recovering alcoholic, and I thought, I don't want that. My mum did the absolute best she could for us. Both my parents did. They did what they knew. And that was
you
it.
You do have a good relationship with your mum and dad?
I do with both of them. But, you know, it was never this shiny, bright childhood that was, you know, I mean, my mum never told me she loved me until I was in my 20s because she never heard that when she was growing up. And it's like, not like poor me, but that's what you do then. You do what you know. And once I went into the cold water, it changed everything for me. I started to become more present. And like that, after the hysterectomy, and I got on the right HRT and I started to settle a bit, I thought, I need to know what has happened to me in my life. I need to understand. I want to do better for my kids, and I can only do that if I understand where I've came from and where I'm going. And that was just such a big focus for me. It was like a light bulb just went off, and I thought, I don't want this. And then like with COVID and everything, I'd literally said to my husband when COVID lockdown happened, I went like that to him, take all the drink out the house. And he was like, what? And I was like, I can't. It just was a total trigger for me because my mum only drank in the house and I'd never drank in the house. Like if I had people over, we'd have a drink, but my kids wouldn't be there. And to me, it was always like, that's where the connection was. I never understood that actually going out and getting hammered every weekend and not being present as a mother during the week and then just aiming for going out again. I didn't realise that was having just as bad an effect. But to me, it was just like, oh, as long as I don't drink in front of my kids, they won't realise. But it's not as simple as that. So when, like for me anyway, and I would never have been, I was never the person to pour a wee glass of wine, have it in my dinner, and that would be it. I'd want the bottle and I'd need to know there was another bottle in the fridge and another one, you know, I always took it too far. So I'd never let my kids really see that. And one night I went out, it was at one of the Girls for Good nights.
Oh, yeah.
And I literally looked beautiful. It was like, I loved my outfit and blah, blah, blah. And I woke up the next morning underneath my tree in my living room, like absolutely hammered still. And my husband was just like, I just couldn't move you. And it was like, my kids would have seen me. And it was like, he was just probably at that point where he just couldn't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He couldn't like get me into bed, get me stripped and like let me sleep it off. I think he'd probably just reached his limit as well. Plus, I was just an absolute mess. I'd been sick all over myself. It was just so embarrassing, you know. But it was like outwardly, it was like, oh, this was this brilliant night. And you would have always had a good night out with me. I was always like, you know, it just went too far.
Yeah.
And I was never kind when I was drinking. If I had an issue with someone, it would always come up.
Yeah.
And I know you're laughing. It would, you know.
Always takes me back to Ibiza.
Yeah. I'm getting home. Like just overly dramatic. And it's like that because I couldn't deal with any emotions. Like I didn't know, I didn't have my parents didn't show me how to mirror, you know, your kids mirror your reaction. So like my dad's not very good at dealing with any kind of emotion, but he'll go to the pub and have a drink and he'll text you and say, by the way, I love you. I'm really glad you handled it like that. But he's like 3 pints in before he can say that. And it's like, why would I not react like that? But even with my friendships, you know, I would just go out and anything that had been there, it would bubble up and then I'd be like, by the way, you said this to me 2 weeks ago and I didn't like it. But I was so harsh with it. Yeah. It was never, it might have been correct. And in my head, it was right. And I definitely think that's where I'm kind of on the delivery. A bit. The delivery was just
awful.
The delivery was awful. There won't be many people that, especially in the last kind of years that I drank, that didn't see a really horrible side to me.
The wrath.
To be fair though, when you were describing Deborah, you never described her. You were saying she was so nice and so friendly.
Yeah. No, I know, sorry. I know she lied.
No, I didn't. But what I would say is that everyone would always have said we were quite similar though. So I think that I probably maybe not.
Kelly would be in the background sitting laughing at what was going on.
Encouraging the bad behaviour.
But I guess
Deborah.
So I was friends with Kelly's sister. So it would be that kind of the relationships that I was having the issues with would be much closer. I'd be much closer with them. Kelly'd maybe come along at the weekend where she was coming in a night out with us and she'd just sit back and be like that with the popcorn, just like, Here she goes.
I would also be a bit like, what the fuck? Who's she talking to? And people would go, that's just what Deborah's like. And I'm like, that's unacceptable. People can't just say that's just what you're like. And the funny thing is people will say things like that about me, and it's probably slightly different. I wouldn't really get like drunk and be
You just do it so
like,
much.
I just sometimes just say everything that I think. I just often say things, and it's probably not till this year really that I've thought I don't need to say everything that's on my head.
Yeah.
That's like,
you really need to.
because you are like the nicest person, but sometimes you just say stuff and I'm like, but did you really need to say that? Like,
yeah.
And obviously because in my head I'm like, I did need to say it, but like trying to hold it in, I'm like, hold it in. Like,
And I think like it's not always untrue what's been said.
No, it's not.
And I think like Kelly and I are very similar like that.
Yeah.
She'll just be like, it's very like black or white, you know.
Yeah.
And you're not, when you're doing that, you're not taking into consideration what's going on in the other person's life. You're only taking into consideration how it's affecting you.
and going,
And it's so selfish.
at least I'm honest.
Aye.
At least I'm honest. If you don't want to know,
that
then
was
don't ask
literally
me.
your tagline was
Yeah.
like, at least I'm honest. And I think
and
Kelly
sometimes you're like,
probably
no, we don't want your honesty.
I'm like, well, don't
I
ask
don't want
me
to know
then.
that I've got a big spot in my nose. My hair's an
I
eye.
know.
Can you see this? Yep.
I walk in, sometimes Kel's like, have you washed your hair today? It looks so greasy. I'm like,
I've got a meeting and I didn't need to hear that.
to be
I
fair,
think-
I wouldn't actually change it in any way, though, to be fair. So
I think Kelly's probably not the Jekyll and Hyde that I was with it. So Kelly would be like that all the time, and the delivery wouldn't be the same. It would be in a kind of funny way or whatever.
Yeah.
Joke with a jag.
I would be like, you know, all week, just like, it's fine. People pleasing. It's fine if you do that. It's fine if you let me down. It's fine if you don't. And then I'd go and get a drink and I'd be like, I see you. Like, I hated that you did. Instead of just having enough about me to go, actually, I'm really disappointed that you did that. I wish you hadn't done that, and spoke it out with someone. I just wasn't capable of doing
and
that.
see now, do you feel like you are capable of doing
Yeah,
that?
definitely.
Great.
Definitely.
And see, at that point, did your friends think, oh, I don't want to go out with Deborah this weekend in case she kicks off again? Or was there any of that part of it? Or did you go back into that, oh, I'm sorry, like, of everything that's
I don't
happened?
think so. I think, obviously I wasn't there all the time, but I think people genuinely, when you would go out with Deborah and have a really good time.
Yeah.
And she would be like the life and soul of the party, you'd have a good time. And you might not have been the person that she'd fell out with. So,
Yeah.
like, and she might not have fell out with him anyway. So I don't think people would be like,
think-
oh, I
was it
don't
not
know.
I think the only person that wouldn't want to go out with me that would be the person that pissed me off.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Just don't piss her off and you'll have a great time.
But that's not a relationship to
Yeah.
have with someone, you know. I'm also like, I would do anything for anybody.
Total giver.
Aye, it's far too much.
Yep.
And I think that's why I always came up against that, because I'd give so much and expect that back. And when I didn't get it back, I hated it. And I just wasn't good at handling it. And I just couldn't pick up the phone and say to someone, do you know, you've done something. I'd leave it until I had a drink in me.
Yeah.
And it was stupid stuff as well as, you know, I didn't fall out with someone every single time I went out to have a drink. But, you know, somebody, in those very last years that I was drinking, somebody got it. But like I said, when COVID happened, I was one of the few people that went, I'm not drinking. I knew that would be the end for me, because see, if I had that ability to bring my weekends in during the week, that I was going to lose control. And as much as I'm like, I really loved drinking, I've also got this, I hate being out of control, which is so ironic. So I've got basically every issue that you could possibly think of, and it just made this kind of mix of being overly good to people, expecting it back, not getting it, blowing my top, then being all sorry about it, and going over and above making it up to someone. Like, I remember one time I fell out with now Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd actually been talking about her while she'd went to the bathroom in her friend's house, really making judgment on a relationship that she was in, and it wasn't my place. It was too harsh. It just wasn't the right time. And she came out of the toilet and heard me, and we had a big massive, and this was a Friday night, we'd had this big massive argument about it. And then by the end of the night, she told me that the only way I was going to make it up to her is if I went and climbed Ben Lomond on the Sunday with her. So with not even a walking boot, I never walked the length of myself. I went away on the Saturday, hung over to Decathlon, bought a pair of walking boots and a pair of walking socks, and went away up Ben Lomond on Sunday and back down. Because to me it was like, that's me done. That's me. I've made my peace with that. Instead of just going, do you know what? I should never have done that.
Yeah.
So I was mental. I've always been mental. But I'd like to think now I'm mental in a good way. You know,
And are
like
you
were
still
talking about.
friends with a lot of the people that you're friends with?
Not really. No. No, because, and there's a few different reasons for that. Quite a few people I fell away from because they only knew me as the person that gave all the time. And when I stopped doing that, they fell away. And then there's a couple of people that I regret falling out with. But other than that, no, I've got a completely different circle of friends. And I think it's probably for the best for me and them.
Yeah.
You know, I think I will have been on such a journey now that I'm totally unrecognisable to some people.
And it's people find that hard to adapt to.
Yeah.
Which I think is strange, because I bet if they met the you now, they would love you. But probably adapting to the you they knew before to the you you now, they would maybe find it a bit of a challenge.
I would make my peace with anyone, and I'm very accountable now. And I've reached out to people to apologise. I've actually got a letter in a drawer for somebody that was my really good friend that I've never given her yet because she doesn't want it. And it's just sitting there trying to, God, I'm going to get upset now, but just trying to clear that, you know.
I had the same with one of my friends that we fell out. We lived together in the flat and we didn't talk to each other for about 8 years. And then I was working at HSBC at the time and I had just a feeling that I had to call her. No idea why. Like, do you know what I mean? You just have a pure feeling. And I called her and she was like, I've just took a pregnancy test and I'm pregnant. And she was like, I've literally not told one person yet. I had no idea how I had the feeling. She was like, can you come round my house straight after work? I hadn't spoke to her in like years. And went round, and then since then we were just friends. But there wasn't actually any of an apology between us, but it was just a case of like, I had this feeling that I needed to be there for her.
I think it's sometimes difficult though when things like that happen and you probably feel like what you've done and how you've handled situations is warranted, and they probably feel the same. So sometimes, especially when you're not completely mature, it's difficult to get to the point where you go, this is how I feel about it. I'm not really budging on it. I can see that your point of view is different, but so probably by 8 years' time, you're at the point where you go, well, I don't really feel like I've getting to
and even when I
apologise
look back
for.
at what I fell out with, like, still I would say it was warranted. However, I
Yeah.
would say like now I wouldn't fall out with someone over it. Like,
Yeah, I know.
As you get older.
And it's definitely relative to what stage you're at in your life. But I was very selfish in all of my relationships. And I just couldn't see it. I didn't want to see it. So, and like that for the drinking was just out of control. When I got COVID, I just went, no. And I think I drank like 4 times in 2 years. It was like big birthdays. I had my 40th. Oh, disaster. I mean, I didn't even have MD there and it was still a disaster. I think I had a party on Zoom with my pals and I still fell out with them. Honest to God. See, when I think about it, just an absolute riot. It's so embarrassing. But, you know, I can't not say it and not be accountable
it's
for
part
it.
of your
'Cause
story.
So
So then what led you into, so you done the cold water and then did you stop drinking straight after that?
no, I did the cold water 5 years now. I've been doing it.
Right, great.
And I've not drank for just over 3 years.
Amazing.
Definitely the best decision I ever made. My friend that I've fallen out with, that it still hurts, to be honest. That was the last time I drank. She was in my house and we had a falling out about our partner that I didn't like. And there's no way back from that. But it was the last time I ever touched alcohol. Because like that, my delivery was so poor. It was just it was the wrong place, the wrong time. I had other friends in the house who didn't know them, you know, and it was so wrong. And it was really all rooted in the fact that she wouldn't come to a night out with me that I wanted her to come to. And it's so daft. Like, when I think about it now, it's embarrassing that you would do that to somebody that you love. I mean, I still love her. I'm not a grudge person, and I can hold my hands up now and fully be accountable for everything. But there's no way back with that one. I know there's no way back. I've tried.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the way it is. And that's fine. She's not ready. If she ever is, I will be, you know.
And then when did you start, like, the actual business side of it then?
So, a couple of years ago, I totally had this epiphany. I'd stopped drinking. I'd doing the cold water. I was starting to feel good. Starting doing loads of like alternative therapies, learning about the moon and all that. I just was like, I went a bit woo-woo. I still am a bit woo-woo and I love it. But just totally different to what, and I'm laughing at you smiling because it's totally different to what I'd be like just outside with my joggies on, no makeup on, just
tree hugging.
I totally, like, I'm not even joking. I'll hug
That's
a tree
what I would say. I'd be
anytime.
like, Deborah would be wild, but now she looks like she's a tree hugger.
Aye, and that's exactly. Listen, I'm okay with being called that. So, I started learning about menopause and started understanding what had been going on in my life, and learning about doing the ACEs test and learning about all these different things that had happened when I was younger that I didn't realise was impacting the fact that I couldn't deal with any emotions whatsoever. And I just really wanted better for my kids. So I was doing a job that I absolutely hated. I was making cakes. I loved the job at first. It got me through COVID, and I was dipping chocolate strawberries. I was the best at it. I'm always trying to be the best at everything I do. I throw myself in there. But everybody had started doing it, and it was just the time had kind of passed for it. I was ready for something else. And by chance, I'd done my course for my menopause coaching, but I still wasn't planning to go down that route. Everything that I was studying was just for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And people just I kept hearing, like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm like, how do people have that? Because you have to make money and you want a good life. You don't want to just get by. But it's like, what is that thing then for me? What is it that I love doing? And I knew I loved going into cold water, and I knew I loved helping women. And by this point, I had a free group for women that I took on retreats, and I was doing a lot of work but not getting paid for it. And I went to a psychic, and she said to me, we were in a room and there was about 12 of us, and she just turned to me and said, do you know you're going to be doing something in menopause? And I was like, no. And she was like, yeah, you're going to be doing menopause coaching. And I was just like, but there was another woman there who that's what she was going to go into. And I'm going, no, it's not me, it's her. And she was like, no, it's you. And the woman was like looking at me like raging. Right? And I'm like, and I'm just like, it's definitely not me. But she was just adamant. She was like, no, you're doing stuff just now. You know what you need to do. And I was just like, it was so weird. And she's like, everything's pushing for you. So I think this was like in the October or November. And it was, that way then you start to think, am I going to do that? Or am I just going to do that because that woman said that to me, do you know? And then it went into the new year and I get onto a business course. Very fluke. I'm a very fluky, lucky person. And I believe that because you go out there and make your own luck. Like I'll take a chance, I filled out a form for something that had closed ages before. And there was like only limited spaces, and I just put in my kind of business plan to it, and I sent it away on a Tuesday night at like, it was 11:30 at night. And then the Wednesday morning at like 9:30, they phoned me and they were like, oh, we've read your application. And I went, well, I just put it in case you do it again. I wasn't. And I went, I thought it closed last year. And she went, I actually did, but I love your application. So can I go and speak to the CEO and I'll come back to you? And I was like, aye. So then she phoned me back. She's like, right, the CEO wants you as well. And I was like, right, okay. And she was like, can you start tomorrow? It starts tomorrow. And I was like, aye, let's just go for it.
Love it.
So I went on that and I won the course. Like there was a big thing at the end and I won it, and I like threw myself into it.
What was it?
So it was a company called Inspirant, and they had won a kind of pathways funding from the Scottish Government. So it was this kind of I think it was estimated that it was like a $6,500 course, and it was free to women who were wanting to start up a business.
Yeah.
So in February of this year, I started that, and it just changed everything for me. I think it was just the right moment, the right time. I've always worked for myself, and my mum and dad have always worked for themselves. And I do think I'm a wee bit ADHD. I think you kind of need that when you run your own business. I'm looking at you, Emma, because you run your own business. But I do think you have to have a mind that can go 100 miles an hour.
Definitely do.
And,
100%.
and not be that person that's like fixated in one thing, because you can have people working for you that specialise in different things, but you need to be able to multitask on like Monica times 100 level to run your own business. And I think that's something that I've always known that I could do. I've started like 3 or 4 different businesses, and they've always been great.
It's like Deborah's sold clothes, she's done the strawberries, she's done the cakes, she's done everything. She's always just probably similar to you actually, because you were always doing something on the side.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that is
That
in
hustle.
you.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's what gives you the drive. But I think probably your upbringing has probably helped that as well, because you said that you didn't have the regular upbringing, so you've had to probably work for yourself and see that like hard work ethic if your parents had to do the
Definitely. I think if you come from poverty, like my mum and dad had, like Kelly will know my mum and dad from when they had money. My mum's from Castlemilk, my dad's for the Gorbals. I was born in Castlemilk. They scrimped and saved to get every penny they could to buy a cottage flat in Kings Park. And I thought I was the bee's knees, right? And I used to always say to everybody, oh, I was born in Kings Park. And then my mum would go, no, you weren't. You were actually born in Castlemilk. And I used to always be like, no, it was my sisters, because they were a bit older, and they kind of were like, I think they were about 7 and 8 when they moved. And I'm like, oh, I was just a baby. And but now I'm like, no, I'm actually from Castlemilk. That's where I'm from. I don't shy away from that. We struggled. Like my mum and dad put everything they had into getting us out of Castlemilk to give us a better life. So like my mum and dad didn't love in a conventional way. They loved the way that they knew how, but they did the best they could for us, you know. So I came from that kind of struggle background where if you wanted something, you had to go out and get it. My mum's always said to me, like, if you want something, ask for it. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I have adopted that attitude in my life in terms of just trying to work really hard for everything that I've got. And if I get an idea, they sometimes can be a bit mental, but I'll wholeheartedly go into it and I'll work hard. So this came from, you know, the crazy psychic woman. No, but she's not crazy, she's nice, but
And she got it right, to be fair.
Totally. So whether that just happened to be something, but I'd already done my course that nobody knew about. So it just was this kind of combination of things. I'd stopped drinking. Clarity was a thing that I'd never had in my life, you know, and I just stopped wanting money. I thought money, when you come from poverty, you think money is the thing. You need money. That's what you need. So you just aim for it all the time. And I started aiming for peace. I'd never felt peace. My nervous system was always shot to pieces. And half the time that was my fault. But it was just, you know, I was in high alert. That's how I lived my life. And I started seeking peace. The cold water gave me peace. Being outside gave me peace. And I think my husband was just like, now this is why I stuck around. Because I'd say now I'm magic, like, and I don't mean that in a pure big-headed way, but all of the shit that I had, I've left it at the door, and I've worked my way through it, and I've understood that how much of that was my fault, and taking accountability. I try now to take accountability for every mistake I've ever made in my life, and if I make a mistake or I'm snappy with somebody now, I will go out my way to make sure they know that I'm sorry, that I didn't mean it. And I won't be like, but I never slept last night. And maybe they'll know that, but it will just be, you know, I shouldn't have done that because it's not on you. And I try to live my life like that. And I'm surrounded now with a lot of people who are similar to that. My vibration's just so much higher. And I'm vibrating higher and I'm receiving higher.
It's so good, and obviously I've not seen you for ages, years probably, like, and it's so good to see and hear and watch your posts, and the difference in the happiness, like the real happiness that you can just see coming from you. So it's amazing to see that.
Yeah.
But
Can I ask a wee question? See how your cold water, do you have something in your house that you use? Because we were building like a kind of gym thing in our garden. I was like, Marty, why don't we get a cold water thing? So many people have told me that it would be great. And like, see what you're saying about your nervous system. And that's what I've been looking at a wee bit of research on, because I feel like I'm always pure on edge.
Yeah.
And that's what talks about like your nervous system and everything it was talking about. And that's the one thing it said, cold water. And I was like, maybe we should get like a wee
tub
dip thing
Yeah.
to go into.
I've got a tub in the garden that I use, but I prefer to be outside. Like I hate the sea. So ironically, that's where my first dip was. But I like to get into a loch. I'll go to Glencoe and literally stand, like get out of the van, take my shoes off, put my feet into the ground in the mud and stand like some crazy woman. But it's so vast. It's so huge. Everything falls away as insignificant. And it's that peace.
I feel like we all need to do it.
I know, I was
together.
actually thinking like we need
It's
that's
all
what
about
I'll
going.
do, I know.
Yeah, all
But see
going.
how like when you jump in, does it not like I'm such a wuss? Like see
We
even if
don't jump, Emma.
you
just, like,
jump
Just walk in.
You just walk in.
And
You're not like
My hair very rarely gets wet.
Oh good. I appreciate what you're saying. You're not like it.
No, every fibre in your being is screaming at you to get out. It is fucking freezing. Like, and usually there's lots of curse words. Sorry, I keep swearing. I don't know.
Don't worry, it's allowed.
There's lots of curse words if you're, you know, as you're going in, especially when you're doing it for the first time. So it's, but what gets easier, it doesn't feel any less cold to me, but what gets easier is your body remembers that peace and that calm that's going in. So there's in the science behind it, it's really interesting. So when you walk into cold water, your body goes into full flight or fight, right? If you stay in cold water too long, you will die, right? Hypothermia will kick in. So your amygdala and your wee bit in the back of your brain that goes, I'm in danger here, is full on danger. So every urge in your body is like screaming at you to run out. And when you push through that, it's a big achievement.
Yeah.
But not only that is that calm and that peace. And when you go in the water and you get right down, you've got the vagus nerve, which is basically your nerve that runs right through your body, and it's your nervous system, basically. And that calms, so it activates your vagus nerve, but it starts to calm your body down, and you get this kind of weird sensation after a few minutes of your body calming, because it realises that actually, I'm okay just now, but it still knows if you stay in too long that you're going to die, right? Danger. But what actually happens is your heart starts pumping different. So your blood that's in your body is warm. Obviously, it's your body's core temperature and your oxygen and everything that's travelling around. So your heart starts to pump different, and it will change the chambers in your heart, change how it pumps the blood around your body. So it begins to pump it around your vital organs only. So it's keeping that warm blood in your trunk and keeping your vital organs alive, right? It's keeping you alive. And then the other part of your heart is pumping the cooler blood as your temperature's starting to drop round your limbs. So your hands and your feet and your legs and your arms will get really, really cold because they are not needed to keep you alive. So it's actually so fascinating that's what your body just knows.
And those are the bits that get sore though, aren't they? That's the bits that you go, oh my
Just
God,
get really
Matt.
cold.
Uh-huh.
Really,
You see
really
everybody
cold.
with the gloves and the hat on.
And the reason for that is you'll lose your heat out your head, and you'll get absolutely no benefit from your hands being like really ice cold. It doesn't do anything to help your nervous system. It just makes you get out the water quicker. So having your hands covered and your feet covered is like ideal. I just get in a costume all year round. Like I broke ice and got in.
get in.
I love it. It's great. Driving about with my hammer in the car. It used to be because I'd like fallen out with something. No, I'm only joking. I never got that crazy, but no, I promise it never got that crazy. But no, now I'm like, in the winter I've got a hammer in my van just ready to jump out somewhere.
Right, so see when you go, like I'm 100% going to try this without a doubt. So you go in, how long do I stay in for, and then what do I do when I'm
We'll
out?
do it with Deborah.
Yeah,
We'll all
but
do it with
you would
Deborah
really
then.
want to go in and get 3 minutes up to your neck. So not counting the time that you pussyfoot before you get in, you're going, I can't do this. But
2.5
getting
minutes.
getting your neck, getting the water right up here in your neck and staying in for 3 minutes is all you need. You don't need any longer than that. And the temperature here in Scotland, like even in the summer, you probably could do with being a wee bit longer once you've been doing it for a while, but if it's your first time. So you do that for 3 minutes and you come back out. And what happens is you start to get dried really quickly and you just get ready. You will start to feel really cold, but your temperature then drops. So that warm blood that I was talking about, that was going around all your vital organs, keeping you alive, that starts to mix with the colder blood because your heart goes, your amygdala's going, your brain's going, right, okay, I'm safe now. So that's when actually you can start to feel unwell because your temperature drops then. So your temperature doesn't change in the water. You think you're getting freezing, but you're not, because your body's keeping your core temperature steady. And then when you come out, that blood starts mixing, your temperature will drop a wee bit. People can start to feel a bit unwell. But that's only if you stay in, like, you know, far too long, like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and it's your first time. If you do that, you would be probably sick, and it can be quite extreme. So if you've only been in for a few minutes, that's when you start to feel shaky. So like we always say to everybody, get dry and get ready really quick, because there's a wee change between them. So you've got time to get ready, and then that's when you start to get really cold. But then like endorphins and all that are happening, getting released in your brain. Like your body's just like, I've just survived like a life or death situation, that your body doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So it's going, I've just survived something mega here, which is also really good, because it's like gives you a wee natural high. And on top of that, you've definitely got this whole feeling of achieving something. You never ran back out when everything in your body was screaming at you, and your nervous system goes from being half on with all life stresses to completely switching off, and you have calm and you have peace, and it's amazing.
100%. I'm going to try this.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I've been, even what you're talking about there, like, it's just been coming up my Facebook so much about this vagus nerve. Like, so it must be because I'm saying to people, I'm feeling like this. I feel it, and I obviously the phone listens to you, but that's been coming up a lot. Like, so I think that's 100% something.
definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's really important at your age to be looking after your nervous system, because as you're going into, you're probably in perimenopause now.
Well, I thought that I was, because like a few things that happened. Like my hair was falling out, like I was feeling dead tired, and I went and just got my bloods taken at that, see the Lanarkshire private clinic, the one in Hamilton. I went, got all my bloods taken, everything there, and I said to the woman, I think I'm perimenopause. She was like, oh, I don't think so. She has a menopause specialist in there. She done all my bloods, and it came back that I was folic deficient. So I was like really, really low on that, and vitamin B12, and there was something else. But she was like, no, she didn't think that I was, based on my bloods.
So the bloods are dependent on what time in the month that you actually have them taken.
Right, okay. So mine was during my period, I got it done.
And they don't know what your bloods were beforehand. So the best way for me to explain it to you is, and I'm not saying that you need to go on HRT or anything, it's just to become aware.
Yeah.
So your estrogen level can be the highest it's ever been in your entire life. So if you think about when you were 11, 12, 13, you hated everybody, you were slamming the door, you were running up the stairs, you hated your mum and dad or whoever you lived with, and nobody understood you, and you were kind of losing the plot. Your estrogen level can be higher than even then. So as grown adults, it's not acceptable for us to run up the stairs and slam the door, even though sometimes we do. But we tend to kind of mask that a wee bit more. So when you take that into consideration, and also your progesterone levels started to slowly decline, it's not about whether that's in a range that's too high and that's in a range that's too low. It's where this distance between the two has grown. So if that's gone up that amount and that's dropped that amount, you've actually got a difference of that. So it's just being aware of the fact that that's changed. Now, if you add into that where your nervous system's constantly on the go and in high alert, and then you start having these hormone changes, everything in your brain starts to kick in. Oh God, there's something wrong here. That fight or flight is constantly on. And then you add into the mix if you're not sleeping. And we know we can deal with anything if we've had our sleep. you go into this stage where you go into perimenopause and you cannot sleep.
Yeah.
And it's all to do with your nervous system and your gut microbiome. And your gut microbiome, your gut's your second brain, but your gut microbiome's created from your mum's mum. That's carried. It's one of the first things like in the womb that is actually made up when your baby's forming. So when you formed in the womb, one of the first things that's formed is your gut microbiome. That's all coming from your mother. That came from her mother. So it's like, it's absolutely amazing, but it's fascinating that we don't know these things. We're not taught any of this. I mean, I went to a Catholic school. I didn't even know the moon controlled the tides till I was 40. Like, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until now. So
I know
there
it's
you go.
36. I found
Well,
that.
the moon controls the tides. So when the moon moves around the earth, it controls the tides. So it pulls the water with it. And as it goes away from it, the water goes back out. That's how the tides come in and out, right?
Okay.
And we're made up of 60% water. So with that whole thing where there's a full moon. And
That's a real life thing.
yes, because you're made up of so much fluid. But why would we think that the moon wouldn't circle the earth and it couldn't pull the water? Why would we not think it wouldn't have a kind of
That's so
magnetic
crazy.
That is so
field?
true. I've never thought
I know,
that.
it's amazing.
That's one of the things, like, and I say this quite a lot because my friends, we've got friends of all ages, but we're all mums, we're all in like 30s, 40s, etc. But the menopause and perimenopause symptoms are like a topic of our conversation all the time because we're like, oh, we're just mental. Like, I had a radical hysterectomy, so I had my ovaries left in. And we were talking about earlier about like the time of the month and everything else. So I'm in sync with my best friend. So see, when she's going a bit mental, she'll text me, been like, by the way, I'm during my period, like, and I'll be like, oh, that's why I'm mental. Then I call it the phantom.
Yeah.
The phantom period that comes along, and I'm just like, for a couple of days. But also it's like all the symptoms there that everybody's talking about at the moment. Like, my friend put up this morning, can anybody help with insomnia? So she's perimenopausal. And she was telling me before it, like, because we don't speak about it enough, and I don't know about it enough either.
Yeah.
Where she was like, the peri side of it is like the mental side of it.
Yes.
The menopause bit is the easy bit.
Well, I wouldn't call it easy,
Well,
but
easier.
Uh-huh.
But the peri,
everything settles a bit more.
And she was
I
like,
mean, you're actually only in menopause for one day.
Oh,
really?
wow.
Yeah.
I thought
So
it was
what?
like a pure 10-year thing.
I know,
No.
like this huge big cycle.
So actually, I'm post-menopausal. So what actually happens is you are in menopause for 24 hours, and it's the 24 hours after you've not had a period for a full year to the day. So you're only menopausal for one day, which is wild to me.
oh my God, it is.
Uh-huh. So that's how little in medical history that they actually care or have thought about menopause. They literally chalked it down to one day. And before, perimenopause wasn't a word and postmenopause wasn't a word. So that's how little interest that they've ever had in women's health. Women couldn't own a house 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They couldn't have a home in their own name. So we've came wildly ahead, you know, in 50 years. It's amazing. We couldn't vote, what's 100 years since women could vote. So it's not been that long since women have actually had a say in anything. And we like to, you know, say it's 2025, nearly 2026, women should have this and women should have that. But actually we've had a lot in a very short space of time.
Yep.
So it's not surprising to me that these conversations haven't been happening.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they don't need to now happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like lots of people are out there saying, I'm the most educated in it and I know the most about it. And I'm like, I don't think anyone is.
No,
Like,
you're right.
because it's not been around long enough. We haven't had enough research into it. For me, I take HRT because it works for me. And even though I had HRT before that didn't. So for me, it's like, I think there's a big space for HRT. And I know a lot of coaches who are very against HRT. But nobody comes along and when you're in your deathbed and gives you a badge that says, well done for not taking HRT.
Yeah.
You struggled on better than the next person.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I hate that mentality of that I'm better than you because I managed to go through it without anything.
It's the same with painkillers and birth.
And C-sections.
I didn't take it. I
Yes.
didn't take
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I did.
None of
and I'm
that.
so glad I did.
I don't think any of that matters. And I actually, talking about that, I had both my kids vaginally. Can I say that? Vaginally? How nice.
Through my fanny.
Aye, through my fanny, right? I did it the old-fashioned way, right? Apparently my birthing canal was just perfect for having kids really quickly. I had my boys really quick. I couldn't get drugs because it was too fast. So that was probably the only good thing I'd done in my life at that point. But I remember when I had my hysterectomy, I've now got this mum pouch thing that I didn't have from having a C-section. And for about 3 days after that, I got out of hospital and my husband was like, what the hell was going on? I was just walking about the house crying, saying, I think I always thought, because I'd done it that way, it was like, that's the way you're meant to do it. And I was going like this to my husband, I don't understand how any woman could have a C-section and still be made to look after a baby. Like, it was horrific. And I'm like, these women are like fucking warriors that have went through that. And like, you don't understand it. Again, you don't know what you don't know. But I spent like about 3 or 4 days like literally crying for all these women I didn't know who'd had this C-section and then had to like, had a baby to look after. And I'm just like, it's mental, the things, the standards we set for ourselves in business and life. And also just the pressure that's there that actually 50 years ago we wouldn't have been out working. We weren't talking about menopause, we weren't talking about perimenopause. And it wasn't because people weren't going through it. By all means, our lives are more stressful now, I think, as women than they've ever been.
I feel like the perimenopause, for me, because I'm quite naive to this, has only been a topic of conversation for the last year and a half.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like I hadn't even heard of it before then.
I was like,
and then I
what's
kept
that?
thinking maybe it's because I'm getting older, so maybe it was a conversation before, but I just hadn't
Yeah,
heard of
that's
it.
the exact same.
But like I feel like even I got like quite a lot of like women finance things, and it's been brought up a lot, which I think is great because I went to a women finance event 2 years ago. And I said to Sarah, I never even really listened to that bit because I thought, well, that's dead far away from me. And then I was like taking notes at the same time on something completely different to what she was talking about. And then I heard her say like from age 35, I was like, shit, that's my age. Like maybe I should be listening to this. I thought, she's talking about like people at the age of 50. I don't need to listen to this. And then it was actually like halfway through, I was like, chickens, I should have been probably listening to that.
I think what happened there was people got to like 50 odds and it started to calm down.
Yeah.
And they're coming out of it and they go, right, okay, we can maybe now talk about it. And they're maybe going like their pals, that was mental. Did you have that? Because it wasn't a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think now because of social media and everything, obviously Davina McCall, she went through it and she, and that was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago that she did a big massive thing online about it. And that's how people kind of started talking about it more openly. But like I say, menopause is only meant to be 1 day. So it's like...
That's mad because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to go through that 5 years of my life, like of struggling and everything else. And you're like,
on paper it's 1 day though.
aye.
Yeah.
But I
feel
definitely
like,
think perimenopause is much worse
yeah.
than menopause. Yeah.
I feel like we'd want to talk about this all day, like, and I feel like we'll probably need to get you back on, but we do need to wrap up now. I feel like we've not even spoke about Flourish with Deborah either.
No,
so
it's part of who I am.
Before we finish, so give us a wee bit of a rundown on your socials and what we can do, who can book on, what can we do when we book on with Flourish with Deborah. Like, give us a bit of that.
So for me, Flourish with Deborah is all about calming your nervous system. I do like breath work. I do sound bath classes, floating sound bath classes. I don't know if you saw them online, but and it's really, that's what the key is. It's all about calming your nervous system.
Sorry, can I interrupt you? Can I ask you one thing on that? Just because before we finish up. I went to a sound bath though, right? And I was like, this was at that women finance retreat. And I was lying and everyone's like in zen. And all I could think about was how many meals am I going back to? What am I having for my lunch? Like, I couldn't switch off. I wanted to. It's not as if I was like, and it's the same. I tried hypnotherapy, like, because I got a fear of public speaking. And the whole time I was like, I'm having a sandwich for lunch. No, I'm not having soup for my lunch. And it was as if like I just couldn't let my brain relax.
So I take it when you went in to do that sound bath, it was just like lie down and you listen to this music and that was
there was
it?
a woman like going around with a big dong thing and spray like senses, and it was actually in a pool. So some people were like in the pool, some people were lying next to the pool. And like everyone else ranted and raved about it, and I wanted to rant and rave about it, but my mind just wouldn't switch off.
It's a wee bit like going to a fitness class, though. Not every instructor's the same.
Yeah, true.
I teach my sound bath classes the way, because I'm a bit like that. I'd been to a few sound bath classes and I just couldn't switch off. So for me, a big focus isn't about the sound part. It's just a small element of it. For me, it's much more guided to help people switch off and to teach people how to tune into their body. Because quite often you'll go to a class and they'll go, right, okay, let's go inward. What does that mean?
I wouldn't
Right?
know that.
They'll just say that, or they'll say, let's get attuned to your body, or they'll say all these fancy
Like
things.
terminology, and people are like,
Aye.
what's my tune?
And you see if you're somebody that can just go, or you've done it loads of times, you know what they mean, because it just means lie there and be quiet or whatever, or listen to your breath or whatever they say. But actually, for me, I just teach it as though every person that comes in the door has never done it before.
Yeah.
And just actually explain to them how to relax, because we don't know how to relax.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
definitely don't. I
Uh-huh.
don't know how to relax.
We don't. And I definitely think if you run your own business, that's difficult because you've got so much to do. But there's a saying that it's like you should meditate for an hour every day. And if you're really, really busy, meditate for 2. And I never understood that before. But actually, it's because you will get that clarity and you'll get so much more done. And all of the things that jumbled up in your mind, you're almost able to organise them if your nervous system's calm and you're just that wee bit more calmer. So it's a really good skill to learn, but it's something to learn. It's not something that people are just, they can just walk in and do.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you actually based?
So I teach classes all around Glasgow. I go as far as Shotts.
Great.
The sound bath in the water, for me, it's on top of the water. You're not in the water. That for me is like elevated, because if you do a sound bath on a gym floor, it's good and everything, but when you do it in the pool, it's 70 times stronger. So that vibration, and what's actually happening is when that vibration's going through you, it's signalling to your amygdala that you're calm. So you can actually just put your hand on your heart centre and hum to yourself. It's the same way, people love music and it kind of helps them. You listen to music if you want calm, and you.
I'm definitely like music.
That's so a sound bath should be really good for you.
Right, okay.
Because actually, if you're taught how to go into that properly, that humming sound, that vibration going through your body should be calming your nervous system. It's just finding the right person rather than actually the class itself.
I'm actually signing up even before you leave today. Like, I'm not, like, if I
Cold
sold
water,
it, yes.
sound
I'm
bath,
going to sign up for tomorrow if it's possible. So can you give us a wee update on your socials that we can follow you on?
Yeah, so I'm on everything. I hate it, but I do it. No, I'm on TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. Flourish with Deborah.
Flourish.
Amazing.
Great.
Yep.
I definitely think we need to get you back on and do more of the menopause chat
Yeah.
and perimenopause, because I think that'll just relate to so many of us.
So many people will be like, oh, yeah, that's me.
For sure. So we'll have a chat about that. But thank you so much
No
for
worries.
coming on.
Thanks
Deborah. It's
very
been
much
great
for
to have
having
you.
me. Thanks, kiddos.
Thank you.
Brilliant. If you've enjoyed this episode of Business Balls and Banter, please subscribe on YouTube.
And don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Spotify.
Bye.
I ain't right, got a bad streak a mile long. Oh, my soul is black as night. What feels right is always